a hyperlink in that article of the actual research methods, and it goes into depth with graphs and the whole 9 yards, because the sampling, they did it from November 2023, and they ended this questionnaire that they put in a bunch of different forums in January 2024. So it was that window there. And, I didn't know that it was going on.
Yeah, at that time, this plant was getting popular, but there wasn't like a crash landing site for it. People didn't have like Facebook pages just for it yet. We've been on, we've been creating content about Ghost Pipe. At least I have online for 6 years now. So I've been at it for a while. And when Penn State, once put their name on it, Harvard released a great article I thought was super informative, but they made you buy it. So for Penn State to, shout out to them. Good job. Doing the research, not making you. Yeah, so before I even read this, I haven't read it yet. To everyone out there, Janice, you read it. You just hyped it up big time. So I have high expectations. You did say there's an additional article that goes even deeper and where they got that information from. So you shared that.
Yeah,
I haven't read that either.
That.
I've been working all day. So this article came out in April. We slacked. We missed it. So it flew under the radar. But what I will say is it's coming out at a perfect time. So just like Ghost Pipe, this article just kind of laid around, and bam, here we are looking at it. So let's get into it. What do you think? Are you ready?
Well, I'm excited because I always thought that, of course, I forage ethically. So ethnobotany, ethnomycology, that kind of stuff when it comes to herbal supplements. But I always considered, listen, social media is the wild, wild west, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
And obviously, our family, me inclusive, I didn't want anything to do with it until I got so many calls and emails and texts, and it was just driving me nuts. But where my colleagues were asking me to get involved because people were making some dangerous tinctures using the wrong proof and stuff like that. So when I got involved last summer, it was because ethically I needed to get involved.
Yeah.
A vendor had to lead the charge here. And who better than the New England planter, And we've talked about how, I've had discussions with people, and
I'd like to see this information kind of set a standard on maybe some practices. We'll see what it says. I'm gonna get into it.
Here's the wild thing. Okay. Addie and I knew that this was going to blow up this year. It's intuition, so to speak. But as you all know, I have been beating down the forums this winter while I wasn't outside gardening or, harvesting or foraging. So I've got kicked out of forums. I've been blocked from forums talking about Ghost Pipe because you get people that start these forums. Some of them are bots. Some of them are run by AI. Some of them are run by vendors that don't want people to know. I will not have that. That is a type of mentality that does not belong in herbal supplement.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion every year about Ghost Pipe. And let me tell you, it's really hard to try to tell somebody one thing and then they have an article from such and such farms. You know what I mean? So when you have an article like this that's backed by like a college, it's nice it's nice to say, hey, this is how you do or this is what it is, because now there's no more back and forth anymore. So I'm hoping, at minimum, this is what I'm hoping for. Don't give it away. But I'm hoping that they can pinpoint the humane way to harvest this thing, if they even dare talk about it. I have a feeling they're going to kind of tiptoe around it.
Well, No,
Don't give it away. They're going to tip.
Listen, they aren't tiptoeing around it.
Okay, so they're not tiptoeing.
Let me just put it. No, they're not going to tiptoe around it because this is an all-inclusive study. It covers a wide range. And
so it's not going to be like some Forager website where it's like, they're trying to meet the standard. They're trying to just say what the happy tone is at the time.
They better not, because they're going to get calls from me.
All right, well, I'm going to start reading this. There seems to be a picture. This is a cool picture. Looks like they're out in the field. Classic Pennsylvania forest. Leaf litter everywhere. University Park, Pennsylvania. Despite a long history of traditional medicinal use in the United States, the collection, consumption, and efficacy of the peculiar forest plant aptly named ghost pipe, remains a mystery. So I don't think it's a mystery. They said it remains a mystery. Some of it, I guess, it's mystified, but I think they're mystifying it right there. Bam.
Yeah. No. Listen.
Am I judging too early? First sentence.
Yes, you are, because you got to wait till you get farther down. Listen, I have said so many times that this medicinal has been shrouded in the closet and cloaked in mysticism. It's crazy.
All
Everything from, so they're touching upon that, which is good.
So now with social media, the internet driving a resurgence in the harvest and economic trade of the parasitic species, which appears strangely white because it is devoid of chlorophyll, a research team from Penn State has taken the first step towards documenting its new status. So there you go. Good job, Penn State.
Yeah, they got sick of hearing about me in the forums.
So new status. So they're trying to put they're trying to put their finger on this. This is either a good thing or a bad thing. So documenting its new status. What's that supposed to mean?
I think the title of it, because as you go down, I think the title of it, either in this one or the second article that I posted right from the thing says, oh my God. Say that. Look, see economic botany. You see that paragraph where it's hyperlinked economic botany?
Yeah, I'm not too far down.
Okay. Yeah, well, that is the link that is to the methods.
Okay, I have that page over here too, by the way. So I have it.
Yeah, the only issue that I have is that there are so many people that didn't want to go on record as vendors. They wanted to tell people, out of their sampling, that they just gave it to friends and family. That's it. They didn't sell it because they don't want big government finding out and all this other kind of stuff. But, they touch on the fact that social media is leading this charge.
Yeah.
And typically ghost pipe in most of the forums is they talk about how it's used as a pain reliever. But when somebody thinks pain reliever, like a lot of the falsehoods that are out there about ghost pipe, you've heard it, haven't you? It's an opiate-like medicine. You've heard that, haven't you, Adam?
Yeah.
We'll say. Yeah. It's nothing like opium. Nothing. So, the when they did this sampling, like I said, it was a few months or, a couple years ago, they only got 498 people in the study. That's it.
Yeah, so that's not a lot of people. So that's in the other article. So what you're saying is a lot of this is based off of like a small around 500 people. This is what their study is based off of, and
under 500 people in
under 500
across social media.
Yeah,
Google,
so
and advertising, and it's but if you that link there, that economic botany.
Yeah.
That, which is the other link that I posted, they have the breakdowns with the graphs and the demographics.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Hi, David.
So,
David and Megan says hi.
Yo,
So
what's up? What's up, everyone?
How's it going, everybody?
How's your everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. So it says this is a quote. I guess this is from a team leader and senior author of the study, Eric Burkhart. So he's the one who, I guess, is the professor of College of Agricultural Sciences at Penn State. So that's, he's the man, I guess, leading the charge.
Yeah.
He says this study is the first to scientifically document use of ghost pipe in North America, along with the growing influence of social media and the internet on how and why people are turning to ghost pipe as a medicinal plant. So he's saying this is the first like hard proof that people are actually using this. Okay, we've had hard proof for a long time, but this is hard proof from the higher ups, from the ghost pipe elites. So Eric Burkhart, you revealed yourself as a ghost pipe elite. So you are now somebody on our radar. So good or bad, watch out. They'll get you. They don't like people talking about ghost pipe, Eric. I'm just letting you know. But we're proud of you. As a wild harvested species, little has been documented about its use throughout the U.S. and growing conservation needs. The study helps to inform future research and education efforts so that the consumer safety and wild conservation efforts can be both appropriately targeted and aligned. So that is great. So they targeted and aligned, so they want people to continue to use it, it sounds like. They're just trying to make sure the conservation area is up the code with them.
They touch on that too.
Yeah.
They touch on the conservation part.
So, real quick, Pennsylvania is the leading in conservation and state parks and per capita in the entire country. So, if there's one, area where this plant needs to be protected and studied, it is in Pennsylvania. They know what they're doing.
Well, they do, but don't forget that other guy that's down in Pennsylvania that I post links to a lot. He's there as well.
The tree guy? Yeah. Yeah, I forget his name. He's cool.
He's awesome. I've definitely learned a lot from him. He's got a great learn your land. Yeah. So I feel like opening, this is pretty cool, this article, he's excuse me, they seem like they're into this. They're not poo-pooing it too bad. So no, a lot of people in the community have pushed for this for a long time.
This is good.
It's a great way to get students because they're going to be talking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so he said the researchers from the economic botany reported the results of a digital survey they conducted, which is what you were speaking of earlier, with the United States asking participants whether they have foraged, consumed, or prescribed ghost pipe. So who's prescribing that to people? I don't know what they mean by that.
They probably are referring to licensed apothecaries and herbalists and doctors.
Gotcha. So
listen, but the study touches on that too.
Yeah, the results showed on social media, internet was primary source of information and learning for respondents, obviously. Notably, the respondents overwhelmingly reported consuming ghost pipe in tincture form for pain management. Okay. Yeah. Respondents overwhelmingly, reported consuming ghost pipe in tincture form for pain management.
Yep.
Can't say it. Both findings appear to be recent developments. What? Burkhart said. Eric, if I can call you by your first name, you and I just need to come on down the PA 2 hours down the highway and we'll hang out. I'll tell you all about it, dude. It's,
I'm more than happy.
Pain management.
I was up until 1:30 in the morning yesterday and just reading it. And the first thing I thought of was that I need to send Eric Burkhart and a few of the other people over.
So he's saying there's limited there's limited indication from historical record that ghost pipe was prepared and used in these ways. So he's saying that, I guess historically it's hard to find that people were using tincture. Ghost pipe tincture.
And we know this because
there's
nothing you can find online about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So here's another picture.
I put that pretty inclusive, piece a while back that's saved in the Practical Foragers that has everything that's ever been said about ghost pipe from reputable sources with sites.
Yeah, I have that saved too.
So I'm sure they're working off of that too. So they're touching. This is just the preface. This article. It's just a preface.
Dave said Eric is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man right now, dude.
Yeah, he definitely is, without a doubt.
Here's a cool picture too. So this first author, Savannah Inez, a doctoral degree candidate in plant biology, shows a clump of ghost pipe. So they call it a clump. You would say what?
What do I call those, Addie?
You call them root pouches. A clutch.
I call them a clutch or a root pouch.
I call them clusters, root cluster. So she says clump.
Yeah.
So clump is the Penn State. It says shows a clump of ghost pipe. It's accurate.
Okay, wait a minute. Do you see that whole big clump in her hand?
You think she just took the whole thing, root, like outside of it?
No. That's a bunch of leaf debris in there.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the actual size of a clutch, when you take apart all the leaf litter and stuff like that, except those are pretty big, thick, and healthy ghost pipes.
Yeah, they're healthy.
But I have never seen a hockey puck that big before.
No.
Because they're literally the size of a hockey puck or smaller.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's like sawdust that all the seed heads sit into, all the, little corkscrew turns. It literally looks like a hockey puck, so it doesn't look this big, but it's very shallow in humus soil. So, sometimes all it takes is, if it's a good dry season, is to blow on the leaves to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like maybe 2 inches under the top soil.
So,
if that.
So that's pretty cool. That's a good picture to show somebody, though. You know what I mean? Rather than...
Yeah.
So...
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll move on. She looks super excited. Getting paid to work with ghost pipe's a dream, so I'm glad she's chasing her pipe dream. That's a nice clump of pipes for her. So let's see. Here's more about the survey. The survey received responses from 489 individuals. I wonder if they wanted more people. Do you think they did, or that's just all they kind of needed?
Remember, this was a random sampling.
I know, but
random samplings are the first wave of scientific studies. Random sampling.
So 96%. 96% identified it as a consumer of ghost pipe. 87% identified as a forager, or both. So I don't know what they mean by that, but I guess some people don't forage for it; they buy it, right? Is that what it means?
Yeah.
All right, for pain management.
No, saying of the 96%.
Yeah.
87% of the 100, identified as a forager or both.
Gotcha.
So that's how many of those. So that's why they clicked.
So they're foraging.
The questionnaire. Right.
So they asked some ghost pipe foragers. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pain management.
Yeah. Go ahead. Pain management was the most commonly reported reason for consuming ghost pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't. Oh, here's the other thing. So, including a sedative for sleep, enhance relaxation, deal with depression or grief, ease anxiety or trauma, lessen eye irritation, and reduce symptoms of alcohol or opiate withdrawal. There you go.
Absolutely.
Bing, bing, bing.
Ding, 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 ding.
Now we don't have to tiptoe around it. There you go.
Nope.
Yeah, we had a big.
I never did. Remember?
No, we had. All right, so real quick, we had a really deep conversation about this in our last ghost pipe review on YouTube, and I went and re-listened to it, and we went deep into it. So that's pretty cool that they're backing that up, because nobody was talking about it. We talked about it, and I like how they used the reduce symptoms of alcohol or opiate withdrawal. So withdrawal symptoms. You've heard me say that, right?
Yeah, because remember,
they're not using.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you that in Europe, they routinely use it for people coming off of pain meds and alcohol.
They use it for people that like are coming off of opiates and alcohol because they get the shakes a lot. So like the Nervine and the Nervine and the Ghost Pipe, if you have it really bad, it'll take the edge off. But like for the most part, it can help, reduce the symptoms. Like that's a perfect way. I wish I had that earlier. But yeah, opiate withdrawal. Super happy they did that. Great job. Shout out to the author again. Dude, this thing's a home run. You're right, dude. You hyped it up, and it's delivering. So let's keep going, dude.
It gets better.
This is great news for everybody. These results suggest that the internet has emerged as an important platform not only for learning and sharing ghost pipe ethnobotany, the study of the relationship between people and plants, but also for developing new traditions and practices, according to the study first author Savannah Inez, a doctoral degree candidate in plant biology. The survey results...
That's the one that wrote that. She's the one that wrote that first article.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So she's the one that's pushing the digital stamp of this, I guess.
Or she started it for sure.
Shout out to her too. But so let me just take a look at that again. I don't want to skip over this. So ethnobotany. Do you see a huge growing relationship between us humans and this plant? Do you see it happening before your eyes?
Listen, I have always seen it that way.
Yeah.
Always. I've always seen, listen, God told us we got everything we need. And, like I talk about my great 50th great grandfather, Thomas Gardner, one of the rules, one of the things that he had for his family when we arrived here in Massachusetts in the 1600s was plants are free and available, free. It's our duty to teach them how to use the plants in order to heal. And, I know I've talked about the whole Salem connection and stuff like that before, but, so...
Yeah, I love
plants, that. Yeah, plants, we literally have everything we need to heal here.
Mm-hmm.
The problem the problem has always been, okay, that there's nothing to bridge that gap. There is no bridge between, most of there's some of us in the community that know that there's enough out here, whether it's mycology or plants, but how do we get that word out to the people without being villainized? So with social media and us pounding down these doors, especially me, going in and really kicking people's ass on some of these forums, to tell them, don't use wild lettuce. There's no need to use wild lettuce. Wild lettuce does have opiate-like effects. You do feel a little buzzy, okay? People do not want to feel that. When you get a medicinal like Monotropa uniflora, a ghost pipe, and you take that, and you realize that you don't have a head buzz, think of it as, here's the way that I can describe its actions. It's like Ozempic on crack for the brain.
I don't know about that bold claim.
No. Listen, it does because it stops those repetitive behaviors.
It does.
Of drug chasing and all that other kind of stuff, because those 20 lanes going 90 miles an hour in most people's heads, okay, that they think is their normal, you realize that your body, your autonomic and your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous response, they're locked in fight or flight because you're running 20 lanes at 90 miles per hour. You think it's normal, but it ain't normal. So Ghost Pipe, as a nervine, gets rid of all 19 lanes, and it keeps you present. You're not obsessing. You're not overthinking. It's great for ADHD. It's great for Crohn's disease. It's good for IBS. It's good for insomnia. It's good for everything. No dirty test results either. No tox screens either. Nothing. It doesn't show up on anything. So truck drivers, if you got a job that you get tested regularly, don't think that this is some illicit drug. It's not. It's a nervine, and it's a buzz killer. So even
Yeah.
if somebody was, and
It's perfect because you can't abuse it to the point where you're not going to stack it with things. You're not going to, you know what I mean. It's just not.
you
It's
definitely
not
don't
for
need to
that.
stack it.
And to be honest, like I'm super. I keep reading this again. Reduce symptoms of alcohol and opiate withdrawal. I'm glad they said that, dude. That makes me real happy because our
That's what I'm telling you. It's kind of like Ozempic for the brain.
yeah. But like our country and everybody
burns.
needs something like this right now, dude. This can't wait any longer. I've been saying it for years. So this is thank you for putting that in there. All right, let's get down. Inez has a quote here. We use the term digital ethnobotany to refer to
That's us.
to refer to ethnobotany within a virtual environment, leveraging new technology to study the relationship between people and plants, while also exploring the development of traditional knowledge and practices within the digital spaces themselves. So, here's a new one for everyone. Are you ready for this one? Digital ethnobotany. So, is that just an ethnobotanist that's just working, just with their phone type thing? Like I'm not calling myself that. That's kind of, I don't know. Katy Perry going to space type thing, astronaut. I don't know about that.
No, listen, we're doing it ethically.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of cool. Leveraging new technology. So people are basically what you're saying. People are starting to learn on their own a little bit and posting it.
Okay, so no. An ethnobotany is an interdisciplinary study of how people, particularly indigenous cultures, interact with and utilize plants. It examines traditional knowledge of plant use, including food, medicine, and other practical applications. Practical applications, don't you love it?
Yeah.
As well as the cultural significance and symbolism of plants. This is something that you and I definitely do where, Myco and Ghost Pipe is concerned.
Yeah, I guess.
That's why we're the practical foragers, because, we keep it practical. And, being that my family historically were leaders in this industry, I've got lots of great information, historical stuff too.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
this is.
I went down to Cherokee. I studied on the nations down there in Cherokee with some of the ghost pipes. So, I bring indigenous knowledge as well, but like I said, it's been wrapped in mysticism. Even in Native American tribes, it's been wrapped in mysticism, because remember the story about how the ghost pipe came to be because they were all arguing. So
yeah, they turned everyone into ghost pipes.
Yeah, turned everybody into ghost pipes. Did that really happen? No, it did not.
No, it didn't happen. But if you see a big ghost pipe plant just by itself, that's rumored to be a chief, one of those reincarnated ones. So I don't know if I would take it. I would leave that one. Leave the chief.
Oh, come on.
Oh, let me be mystical.
I'm taking the chief.
Let me be mystical.
I'm taking the plant. I don't care.
All right. So here we go.
There's a ghost pipe. There's a ghost pipe ecology.
Yeah, go ahead. You explain this. I want you to explain this.
Okay. All right. So ghost pipe, as everybody knows, does not have chlorophyll. It's chlorophyll lacking. So that means that in order to get its nutrients, again, no chlorophyll, that's why it's all white. In order to get its nutrients, it's parasitic. It taps into the symbiotic relationship that certain mushrooms have with certain trees. So the mycelial layer, which is deep underground, is connected to the trees. All right? Ghost pipe gets in the middle of that. It's like the old party line. It hacks into it.
Yeah.
And it steals the nutrients.
It doesn't give.
From both the tree and the mushroom. It doesn't give it at all.
That's why.
That's how it grows. Yeah. And that's how it gets its nutrients that way. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
And there's been a lot of talk about that for a while, because people didn't. This only came about in the last 5 years after it's changed families. I don't know how many times. Because before they were saying it created its own food. No. It actually parasitizes. So we know that now. It taps into the mycelial layer. But you see how it says shared mycorrhizal fungus?
Yeah.
See, it looks like a ball. They should have the little threads underneath. I don't know why they just had a ball there.
I'm not going to... This has been a great article so far, but, they skimped on their ecology photo right here for $1 million school.
Yeah. No,
I'm just kidding.
Worry.
I appreciate it.
They make up for it.
It's better than mine. It's better than mine. I don't have one. All right, so let's... So what do we got? We're still going. Looks like we're about halfway through. So, yeah. So it just explains what literally you just said. She pointed out that ghost pipe is one of thousands of traditional medicinal plants around the world with a documented ethnobotanical use that has not had its specific biochemistry studied. There's a mouthful.
Ever.
Okay.
Ever.
So.
And here's the cool thing. Our science has gone like light speed since COVID in terms of technology and what they're able to do now. So we couldn't have done this at a better time because anything that was published prior to all these advances would not apply right now.
Yeah, it's hogwash, dude. Like I made a video I watched from 6 years ago. And at the time, there was nothing in like 2019, 18, nothing. There was like a couple forest videos, but they were saying acetaminophen was the active ingredient at the time. And that was... Well,
it has a raw form of salicylic acid.
I know, but this was at the time.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything about that. It was acetaminophen, and I went back to my old video and I watched it, and I had a link, and I clicked. The information's not there. So you see how this works? Like people back then were just... They
never even tested it yet.
No, they were just so they were saying.
It's all conjecture and hearsay, but we know that it's got salicylic acid in it.
Yeah, it has the ester, right? It's like methyl salicylate.
Yeah, it's methyl salicylic acid. Yeah, so it's the base form.
Yeah.
That acts as an anti-inflammatory and all kinds of great stuff. That's the analgesic, and so they're connecting how people use this for fevers.
Yeah. So the next sentence, it gives me a big pharma vibe. Let me see. Traditional medicinal plants have historically been excellent sources for drug discovery. So this is a massive biochemical frontier just waiting to be explored. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
So we want that's good. All right.
Yes, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. So we want them the frontier. We want them. So this is a ghost pipe. We're all in it together. All right. They're just.
Yep, we all are.
So now the smart people are working, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we
Finally,
go.
we're good. Yeah.
She's trying to fill the knowledge gap through her dissertation, work characterization. Chemistry. Yeah. My high school education is failing me. Her goal is to identify.
Sir.
Yeah, what does she mean by that?
Yeah, because she was writing a thesis.
Gotcha.
Because she was a student. She's writing her doctoral thesis. She decided to do it on ghost pipes, so she had to give a dissertation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So she got all the information that she could historically, and I guarantee you, she definitely has something with pushing that.
Yeah, she says...
Because she did her dissertation.
This is pretty cool. One research project currently underway is a study of ghost pipes' pain-relieving effects in mice. It's officially being tested in mice. Did you hear that?
Yep, and it works.
Which she has produced promising preliminary results. She was recently awarded a prestigious F31 predoctoral fellowship through the National Institutes of Health that will fund her investigation of ghost pipe as a potential pain reliever through 2027. Wow. So, that means, does that mean FDA is getting involved? Is that what that means?
Yeah, the government is giving her money.
Well, what I'm saying is...
Well, she got a fellowship, so whoever, the National Institutes of Health gave her funding...
as a potential pain reliever. So what? So
Yeah,
at the end of 2027, they're going to make. What are they going to do? They're going to come up with something.
well, no, I think they're going to come up with it a lot sooner now that she's got the money to go ahead and go through with it. But here's the thing with dissertations and thesis. When you apply for a thesis, you have to give, you give your professor, okay, this is what I want to do it on. And the professor has to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
She actually got a professor, which is probably Eric Burke, to say, abso-friggin-lutely, let's do this.
Good for her, dude. We got to, yeah.
Whoever her head professor was at the time, he definitely, they definitely approved her thesis, and she's running with it, and she's making a career before she even graduated, which is great.
Dude, yeah, they're winners in my book, so I'm happy that.
Yeah.
I'm happy. You know what, dude? This is good because
a lot more about her.
they're getting ahead of this before all this wacky shit starts coming out again, like last year. Like, dude, this helps a lot.
Listen, David Hoxford. David goes, until Big Pharma. What did he say? Until Big Pharma feels it's losing money. No.
Yep.
Here's the good thing, David. You cannot patent a naturally occurring plant. Big Pharma can't do squat about it. Big Pharma can hire people to shut us up,
Hey, don't joke about that.
No, but listen, I think that's the only thing. But because this is going to be such a groundbreaking study on ghost pipe, finally, first time ever, in hundreds of years, that sorry, you can't close the barn door after the house.
Yeah.
After the horse is already out of it. That's why they're tying the piece in with the digital ethnobotany.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah. No, you cannot.
Can't put.
Okay, so
that's it. Let me give one more. Joshua Kellogg, assistant professor. Shout out to him. He contributed to the study as well. I don't want to leave him out. I'm not sure. This research was funded by this was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. All right, so that's good. So they're
and I don't want to hear anybody with this conspiracy theory that says, "Oh, you can't believe what they're going to put out because the government funded it." Yeah, don't go down that rabbit hole, guys. Science wins here. And this is all about the science of it. Nobody's shutting it up. And they've made sure to put out all the bullet points out there so it can't be shut. You can't close the barn door now. It's already open.
Yep.
So that's just the way it is.
The ghost pipe cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, while we're still on, because we still have a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I know that you didn't.
That was a good article.
Want to, but click on the study link.
I'll click on it. You tell me if it works, because I think I'm locked into this screen here. So let me. Does that work for everybody? Did that come up?
No. Well, hold on. It's a little bit of a slap.
Yeah, it'll be a lag.
Because right now you're just scrolling up on the original article that you put. Okay, there it is. You got it. Okay.
All right, so it's up.
What I want you to do is, listen, we've got a lot of people. I have clients. I got a lot of people in the New England Planter Forum, as well as in the Practical Forager. We do that. They are definitely science oriented.
Yeah.
They are going to love this. Like Steve's going to love this. David's going to love this.
Yeah. Let me post. This is the real breakdown.
This is the breakdown of how they did the study, the methods, the scientific methods.
I just posted it in the comments section again, just in case nobody got it. But Jen, you were like, you're not looking at that article yet? And I'm like, no, I'm saving it. And then you were like, look at the big one. And I was like, I don't want to look at any of them. And then I looked at the big one and I started reading. I picked like something way down here. I forget. But what I want to do, I was talking to you about methods. So here you go, methods. I want to see what they say. So I'm going to judge this like a hawk. All ethics.
No, but listen, don't just go into the here. Scroll down a little.
All right, I'll let you. Here. Sorry. All right, scrolling down. You don't want me? Tell me where the good juicy stuff is.
I want you to get past the the abstract and the methods and things like that. And
You want to get to the data?
We want to get down by.
Oh, I see Pennsylvania looks a little bit popular on this map. What's this? Go ahead, PA.
Yes, dude, that's it. Look at. I got Bangor on the map.
Probably half my
Bangor
fucking
is
customers are on here. Right there. Right there. Right there, dude.
I got Bangor. We got the whole East Coast, Addy.
Oh, shit. Look at this. Shout out to a couple of these singles out here in the Midwest. Wow, that's cool.
For some reason,
look at that.
For some reason,
Pennsylvania. That might have something to do with the college doing the survey or something. It's so close to PA. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, but the only thing I can see on the screen is just the header page.
Yeah.
I can't see you scrolling.
I'm looking at the map. If can you see the map I'm looking at?
No.
Oh shit! All right, hold on. I'm sorry. All right. I'm back. I'm scrolling down. What happened is I clicked on the map. All right, here you go. Here's something. I
think it's going to take a second to compare this.
I'm being a bad host. I had my original plan. So here's what they're saying. Like the digital influence imprint is. So back in 2010, nothing.
They took pictures off of Etsy and some Google advertising that they stuck in there. And,
Look at Pennsylvania mushroom hunters. I'm in that group. That's funny. Here's another someone selling it. This person has been around for a while, so I don't know who they are. Never tried it, but they were listing back in the day when I started. So it was them, one other person, and me online. And then everybody else seems like they were just doing it on their own in their own little ghost pipe world. But
what was funny about that is when I entered into the forums last summer, that seller specifically, would fight with me in every forum.
Oh well, I don't know her personally, but I don't want to go on record saying nothing negative. But yeah, they've been around for a while, dude.
You're not. I am.
Oh man.
So, and it's not negative. This is why you've got to do the research and why I'm so happy that this is out, because last summer that particular seller and a few others that were on Etsy were only tincturing an 80 proof or 100 proof. That's it. That person there was also selling dual tincture ghost pipe. And we all know that you don't dual concoct this. So even those people that were on and historically had been up selling on Etsy because they were brave enough to do it because nobody else was doing it.
Yeah.
They were arguing with me in different forums.
Yeah, there was a lot of arguing.
And
everybody, especially me and you.
But now, all of a sudden, all their wording is changed to 190 proof.
To high proof, only high proof, only root inclusive. You see all these things now, and the reality is it hasn't.
I might have pulled them by the nose a little bit, but they finally came up to speed.
Well, they have their they're laughing at the end of the day. They got their picture on the nice article, so good for them. They've been around for a while. I'm not saying anything good or bad. But I'm just scrolling through here. I'm trying to find some just hot sentences. I'm not gonna read through this big thing.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you to the hot sentences. Despite increasing popularity and observed changes in practices, the folk medicine usage of ghost pipe in the U.S. remains poorly studied, which limits our understanding of the medicinal, ecological, and economic importance of ghost pipe and non-timber forest product of folk medicine plant. Okay, so in essence, people have been trying to hide this for a while.
Yeah, I know they have.
The emergence of sharing of potentially new uses and applications could have important consequences for both the conservation of ghost pipe and the safety of its uses, particularly in cases of uninformed use.
I agree with that.
Okay, so that's spot on. Keep going down.
That's kind of just what you talked about. So they're
Right.
trying to
And they
use
talk
it,
about
and they're harvesting
yeah,
it, but they don't know enough. They don't have enough information to be doing it right. Correct? So that's kind of what they.
exactly. So
Yeah.
what they're gonna talk about when you guys read, when anybody reads the methods and so forth of this article, you're gonna see, and you're gonna know for a fact that it's no bullshit, because what it is how many times do people argue about harvesting, how to harvest, how to do this, how to do that, and then they say that's an at-risk plant. No, it's not.
Yeah, they
And
also,
they go
yeah,
over it
dude.
here.
They
Say
talk
the
about how
US,
fragile it
USDA,
is and how,
yeah, it's a
rare.
secure.
And I
Yeah,
don't want to downplay it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to downplay it, but it's rare because it only grows in certain areas. And let me tell you, like
that's why.
I think
It's not. It's definitely not rare.
here's a theory too. Like I think, like in the East Coast area, like I think the Native Americans knew how to like really propagate, like grow this plant, like wild forage and everything. Like, dude, I come across like gardens. I'm like, there is no way this is natural. Like, I think.
No. Hold on a minute. Remember, you can't grow this. You can't grow this.
No, but you can propel
seeds.
its natural growth by like harvesting it.
No.
Correctly and
Well,
like.
yes.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm like. They knew how to do it back then.
And that's the methods that we teach.
Yeah, are they gonna talk about that? I see they have methods, but like I don't see them talking about like harvesting.
No, listen, they talk about how people argue about the harvesting, whether they get the aerials and then the aerial part of the plant only. They talk
So
about
what do they
say?
They don't say, they don't put a finger on it, do they? They just say that that's the quarreling
No,
still.
they say that that's a quarreling that's going on, and that the people, when they were asked during the study, what parts that they took, there was confusion between what was aerial and what wasn't.
Yeah.
So, but they do state in it that roots are always the most medicinal. And with ghost pipe, it's wicked easy to tell where all that medicine is.
Yeah, dude.
If you pull up the root, okay, now remember, when you pull up the root, it's that snap. Does it pull the whole plant up? Hell no, because it's like a corkscrew in there with fisher barbs, like fishing hook barbs. So that snap that you feel when you pull it up, and you see that little crook at the bottom of the root. You think, I got the root. You didn't get a root. You didn't get the whole root. You just got a piece of it. But if you look at the root, it's got hues of indigo. That is the most medicinal part. That's how come in our tinctures we do that. But there's an ethical way to harvest this. You do not want to pull up an entire clutch, that hockey ball thing, more than once. So you hold your hand on the clutch as you spread your fingers out, and you just turn in a clockwise, counterclockwise, just to loosen it. But you put your hand down on the clutch, and with your other hand you're pulling up the flower, because you don't want to pull up that clutch, because if you do, you've lost that clutch.
Yeah.
It's not going to grow back. But the good thing about it is there's probably several hundred more clutches within a 50-foot radius of where you're standing. They just haven't popped up yet. So you're not going to kill an entire species. The practical knowledge that you need out in the field for learning anything, botany, myco, whatever, you've got to pull it up. You've got to take pictures in situ. You have got to pull up a root. You've got to study it. That is practical knowledge that you do need out in the field.
Yeah, don't let someone intimidate you and scare you from working with this plant and studying it. Let me tell you, like, we're not trying to make it sound too complicated, but like, don't let other people get in your way of guilt tripping you into nothing. People try to do it to me for the past like 6 years. People have been, every year this gets popular, I always get the fear mongers and the people who just don't want me talking about it. For whatever personal reason they have, they don't like me talking about it. Or you or somebody else. But it's okay for them, right? But anyways.
Yeah, listen, Those
Yeah.
people are militant conservationists. Number
Yeah.
one, there's one group. Okay,
Yeah,
conservationists.
who
They don't
doesn't like Ghost Pipe?
belong.
Like, who are these? Who's got a problem with it? You know what I mean? Who's the Karens out there? Darrens and Karens. Who doesn't like?
Yeah, there's Karens, Craig and Karens. There's
Who
Craig,
doesn't
Karens,
like it?
Karens. Yeah, yeah. And the other group of people that don't want people knowing about it are people that are pretty bad vendors because they're trying to scare people using scare tactics in order for them not to know how to use this and
Yeah,
not to
they.
make them medicinal.
I think a lot of vendors have been gatekeeping things, and honestly, it's because I don't think they really know shit. So it's kind of like, until they read an article like this, then they'll go out on a limb and say, "Hey, this will help reduce alcohol and pain withdrawal." Right? They'll say it now after they've backed it up with all their somebody else put their ass on the line. So you that's the thing about this. But I want to look at this map. This is what I was talking about earlier. You see it?
Yep.
So this is
Listen,
this is
I
this.
have clients in Washington and Oregon and California. I've got clients.
Yeah, but look at Pennsylvania, man. Look at
all over
us,
the country.
dude. Like, look at that. That's what I'm talking about.
New England states are leading the charge in this.
Yeah,
And,
we're
that's just the way it
dude.
is.
I think Pennsylvania. I think we're piggybacking this thing. I think we're carrying. We got some participants up in Maine. I see you guys, but I think PA is PA is really.
Bangor's on the map. That's all I.
And there's a little cluster down here in South Carolina and Tennessee. That's a good area. And then up in Michigan, we all know Wisconsin and Michigan is full of ghost pipe flower too. So that's cool, man.
Yeah, probably 20% of my customers are from that area.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So they said like 87% of the people they surveyed foraged it themselves. So you can tell who is the odd men out, right? This guy up here in the Midwest, he's not foraging it. This person's probably not foraging it. These guys might not be. You know what I mean? Maybe down here.
Well, no, those white states are the states that it doesn't grow in.
Yeah, I know, but remember we looked up New Mexico and pine sap grew there, and there was like pine sap alley. So I think ghost pipe does grow in New Mexico. I'm just saying, I'm calling you guys out right here. So I think this guy harvests ghost pipe right there. He might, that person.
No, he could have been a user. He could have been a buyer. That person could have been a buyer.
Who are you? Reveal yourself.
Well, you got to think. They grow in association with russulas.
Yeah.
And mostly white pine.
I don't want to bring up that pine sap.
White pine. You don't see a lot of white pine in a lot.
No, there's two big national forests right here, and that's where it all is. And then outside of these two forests is just desert. So that's my all right. Sources, usage, and frequency. This is interesting. All right, I didn't know they were gonna go this deep. All right, let me read this. 38% reported they had only tried ghost pipe once or twice. So 38 once or twice. All right, that's.
Yeah, once or twice.
All right.
They bought it online or whatever.
Yeah.
And it says the most popular reason for consuming ghost pipe was for pain management.
Interesting.
Was the most popular with 21% reporting that they always use ghost pipe for pain relief. Positive relationship was observed when respondent age and always using ghost pipe for pain management. Yeah. Keep going down a little bit.
Oh, here we go.
Because it even reports some of the. Okay, so here's one of the biggest. Okay.
Let me get it perfect. There you go.
This is a very fine line here. Okay. As most of the people know, I had some informational cards written up, and I include it with all my tinctures that say what most people do, how to dose and things like that. Because traditionally and historically, people that, foragers that have sold this on Etsy or other social media forums, they don't give dosing information. Why? Because there is the fine line, okay? If you have any type of licensure, or certification, you cannot treat people. And when you're giving dosing, you are treating them. Ergo, that's where we win. Okay, when you know, thank goodness I'm grandfathered in a lot of things, because you know, when you don't have a license, they can't go after you.
Yeah.
If you don't have a certification, they can't go after you.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Just tell you that, hey, like, you know, do you mind?
Right. So, because a lot of my clients, you know, that ended up becoming clients were asking me, telling me that, you know, they bought it before, they bought it off Amazon or Etsy, and it didn't work, and could I help them with dosing? And as everybody knows, I love doing Facebook, you know, video chats for a reason.
Yeah.
One, it develops trust. You know, I don't want somebody to think that we're pumping dumpers here. You know, we're going to walk you through it. We're going to tell you what most people use. We are not diagnosing you. We are not giving you dosing specifically for you, because there is no specific dosing for this.
Nope.
There is starter dosing, and you are in charge. This is an unregulated, non-approved, FDA-regulated herbal supplement, and it's upon the user to be able to determine where their pain threshold is.
Yeah.
There is not a uniform across the board. So most people start off with 1 to 3 drops sublingually. You increase a drop every 10 minutes until you meet your pain, whether it's psychological or physiological pain, musculoskeletal, anything like that. And some people will take, because our droppers pull up only 1 milliliter dosage. So, you know, and that's about, you know, approximately 10 drops, maybe 10 to 12, depending on how much you really draw.
Yeah.
So that's a full dose, okay? And that's also, you know, the dose that people use to instantly come down off a bad trip, you know, so it does work, you know, but everybody has to do their own individual dosing. So, but people are afraid to give dosing, rightly so. They've been sued, you know, because they market it as medicine, and they tell people it's going to cure things. You don't tell people it's going to cure things. What it does is it treats symptoms, and it just so happens with Ghost Pipe, especially with anxiety, PTSD, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It literally makes it go away. It's
Yeah,
gone.
it does.
You don't have to be on, you know, and you know, you got a lot of people that are going into pain management centers that are being referred to pain management, which I've said a million times, that is legal rehab, because patients are non-compliant with coming off of the opiates and the pain meds that they're on, because they're addicted. So they send them over to pain management because they don't want to deal with them anymore. It's still the same cost center as they're affiliated with. So the hospital or doctor's office is still getting a kickback from every single person that's in pain management. And the pain management,
it's a rough cycle.
Sick and tired of dealing with them and boot them to the curb. Okay, so you've got people out there that are going through withdrawal symptoms, and it's creating it's part of the drug epidemic that's out there, because then they'll go out there and they'll buy street drugs that are illegal. Meanwhile, you've got Ghost Pipe that will help with the withdrawal symptoms.
Yep.
It's non-addictive. It doesn't make you chase a high. And if you really want to come off of those opiates and alcohol and all that other kind of stuff, you take frickin' Ghost Pipe. If you want to stay high and chasing a drug, then, you know, that's an individual's choice. But it shows you that the doctors in Big Pharma started this by prescribing them the opiates to begin with.
And let me tell you, an addiction is mental. And Ghost Pipe is, you know, I like how they didn't say addiction, because that's separate from withdrawal symptoms, in my opinion, which is just an opinion. So Ghost Pipe can help lower withdrawal symptoms, but as far as, like, you know, a very strong opiate addiction, mental addiction, everything, you're going to need more help than just Ghost Pipe tincture, in my opinion, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, well,
but
yes, I agree with that, because I think therapy is needed.
Because I've had multiple, and I'm just saying that from experience, because I've had multiple people Just be open and upfront. And that's what I tell them. And I'm not going to, I'm just going to tell them the truth because they don't know who else to ask. They can watch a million videos, but they'll message me, say, hey, I know you say you have experience, one person said my daughter such and such, and I said I don't recommend this for her. I said honestly, I wish you the best, but I said this flower really isn't built for like
people getting high.
People that or if you're coming off of something like fentanyl, which is super 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 strong, like that's way out of we're talking like post surgery and mild pain and pain relief and stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, that's how come I always tell people, if you're under medical...
Just a little bit of thin line there that I don't think they talked about in the article.
It is, because again, that goes to licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're not doctors or anything. We're just shooting the shit. That's not medical advice. Yeah. None of this is. But just from my experience, I've told people privately, I'll tell people publicly, if you or somebody else having a severe opiate addiction or painkiller addiction, ghost pipe is going to be something that's maybe later down your pipeline for getting help, rather than something you would just plug right in and use right away, and then all of a sudden you're not worrying about it. So it can
in Europe they're using it for drug withdrawal.
Yeah,
they have been. Europe and Asia, they've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Well,
so
I'd like to see more of it. So, I just don't think. I think people are they're running to it like wanting it to be an instant cure for addiction. Like that's where I'm getting at.
No, I think that people are running to it because there's too much conjecture out there about it and falsehood saying that it's opiate-like medicine.
Yeah, that's that too. Why. People are saying it's opiate-like.
So they're
definitely
not. Chasing a high. They've been dropped off of their opiates from their prescribing doctor because they wouldn't titrate off. So they're looking for something in nature that they can buy off the internet that's going to give them the same high. This isn't it. Everybody knows that this is a bug killer.
And I was reading up here that it said that not too many people use it for withdrawal from opiates. Look, very, very, very tiny amount. Look, right there, 1 in 315 or whatever. So people aren't using this yet. But it's on the table. It's in the... More people use it for alcohol withdrawal. So maybe it's better for something like that.
No, I think it
what do you
works
think?
Excellent. I think it works excellent for if you want to come off of opiates.
Yeah.
And you're listen, always dial in your prescribing doc on this. Always.
Yeah.
I have never had a physician tell a client of mine, no, I'm sorry, you are not going to titrate off these meds and try natural herbals. I don't want to be your doctor if you're going to do that, because that's bullshit. And I'm going to call. I'm hitting the bullshit button. That is a doctor, okay, working above his scope, okay, and following administration's advice instead. So, first, Hippocratic oath: do no harm. Some doctors need to be reminded that their job is just to present treatment options. It is never, ever, 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 and I'm going to repeat this very emphatically, it is never to dictate treatment.
No.
That choice is on the individual as a patient. The doctor's job is to be there to make sure that you're safe and that he's on board, because if you're on opiates and you're coming off of them, or antidepressants, Wellbutrin, Celexa, all these kind of things, you need to be medically titrated off of those. You need to have that done under medical supervision. So your doctor's got to be your partner in this. And that requires people to change their mindset and remember that doctor is not God. He is not. He or she is not. You are the boss. They are your employee. You have got to self-advocate in today's hospital and medical environment here in the United States.
Yep.
You've got to be strong. You've got to dig your feet in and say, if a doctor looks at you and tells you, no, you're not going to do that, you need to look at that doctor, point him in the face and say, excuse me, but you don't dictate my treatment. Your job is to present treatment options and to make sure that you work with me in conjunction so that I do this safely and come off of the drugs that you put me on that started all this. So now that doctor has an obligation to care because you are under the care of that doctor. If something happens to you and you get sick because that doctor doesn't want to work with you, you can actually sue that doctor. That's what malpractice is for. Okay?
Yeah.
Because he is, because you are under their care. They just can't release you willy-nilly. That's why these big hospitals and doctor practices that are packed at the hospitals, that's how they started opening up these pain clinics like 20 years ago. Because that was a way for them to get rid of the patient, but still keep them under the umbrella. But they didn't have to deal with them anymore. You see?
Yeah.
So pain management centers, to me, they're a holding place where they shove everybody where they don't want to deal with. But they are the ones that started the friggin' problem.
Yeah, I know.
It's ridiculous. And then they make you, and then they label you drug seeker, drug addict, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, here's
David says, I tell my doc who is a Karen, and we do get into discussions, everything I'm taking, she listens. Good.
Yeah, that's good.
I know. But David knows a lot. So David's not, David's a business runner for a very long time, very successful. And, he knows how to talk to people for sure.
Hey, check this graph out. This is this is the reasons for ghost pipe prescription. So seller prescriber responses to the question, if you prescribe ghost pipe to others, for what purposes are you prescribing it? Pain management's number 1. Anxiety or trauma is number 2, it looks like. Relaxation, sleep management, spiritual and well-being. And then it goes depression, withdrawal, other. So yeah, I think withdrawal is like a big thing. I think it's creeping in.
They're talking about it.
And that's totally fine.
So big. Yeah, it's big in Europe. And like I said,
it's a big deal.
Unless you have a virtual private network on your internet.
But pain management.
See a lot of these
look at that,
dude.
You're
not going to see a lot of the articles that they have in Asia or in Europe.
See, we talked about big pharma, right? So like this pain management, like say somebody needs something like a low dosage, like Tylenol 3 or something, like ghost pipe might be something that could replace something like that. So big pharma, I don't know. I
thought I was going to die a few years ago when I took a Tylenol number 3. I'm not even kidding you. My respiration got shallow, everything.
I haven't taken a painkiller in over 10 years, and last time I did, I broke my shoulder, and I felt like shit. I took Vicodin, and it made me feel like crap.
No, I had a tooth infection, and the dentist gave me Tylenol number 3, and, so it had gotten so bad, I was afraid, I didn't want to take the ghost pipe. I was listening to the dentist. I figured, what the hell? I've never taken a Tylenol number 3 before. Let me take one of these. I took one, and there were 5 hours that went by that I thought were only 20 minutes, and I was struggling to stay awake the entire time.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that if I went to sleep that I was going to die, And,
wow.
And a dentist prescribed that to me for a simple toothache, okay?
No thanks.
Tooth infection. Instead, the next day, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Now I know what Tylenol number 3 is. I'm never taking this again, ever, ever, ever. I'm just going to stick with the ghost pipe. And ghost pipe, turkey tail, and reishi fixed up that tooth infection right away.
Yeah, that's good. I see a lot of eye health too, and I saw that was a Native American thing. How are one using it for how is one using it for eye health, for eye irritation?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So on fresh ghost pipe.
Yeah.
Okay. You can take something like a number 2 pencil. Okay. Apply even pressure and roll it. You'll get, how I tell you ghost pipe is loaded with water all the time?
Yeah.
It's that water that people put as drops in their eye. This study also talks about how traditional natives used to burn the ghost pipe. and use the ashes to put in their eye.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Nowadays, and that's why we've gone to just using the water now, because science has advanced. We don't put ashes of anything in our eye. You just go for the straight medicinal, because you can scratch the cornea, all kinds of stuff. So you use the actual water from a fresh live plant, the juices that come out, you go ahead and you collect that. You don't tincture it, by the way. We don't put alcohol in our eyes. So it's just the juice of the plant, okay? And that works for ophthalmic treatment.
There it is.
Glaucoma, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it says recommended consuming ghost pipe in a dried powder or applying fresh juice or a decoction of dried stems to the eyes for inflation.
Yeah. We don't put dried stems anymore.
Yeah.
But again, they're talking about historical uses and the information.
This has a ton, Jan. This has a ton of ghost pipe news. Holy crap! You were up till 1 in the morning. No wonder. Look at all this shit. Oh, the references start here. All right.
I was cross-referencing. I was looking up research. I was doing this. I was doing that. I was like,
yeah, I got to get out the pen and I got to get out the pencil and take notes off of this. That way I can remember them better.
Okay, so let's talk about the conclusion.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I gotta run.
Yeah, okay. So
my cats are yelling at me.
Okay, the study is one of the first efforts to examine the digital ethnobotany of a plant, and the first to do so for ghost pipe in North America.
Wow.
The results provide the first contemporary look at how and why people harvest, consume, and or interact with ghost pipe as a medicinal plant in the U.S. In addition, they further support the growing influence of digital media on nearly all aspects of ethnobotany. The plant species used, how they are used, their popularity, and the geographical distribution of their use. Following the example of DeMeyer and I'm going to murder this. Kurterick, we suggest the term digital ethnobotany to refer to ethnobotany within a virtual environment. Future studies of ghost pipe use as a medicinal plant should give attention to the digital ethnobotany of ghost pipe in addition to its traditional ethnobotany. Future studies that examine uses with other regions where the taxon of ethnobotanical importance as a medicinal plant. You see how quick? Example, East Asia. Yeah. It's commonly used and has been for millennia.
Yeah, they went over a different name that the Chinese are use it for, so they call it something else.
They're also needed to examine possible overlap in applications, convergent usage that might lend further support and direction to ethno-directed research. So basically, this is confirming everything that Addie and I have been teaching everybody for the last, coming up on a year now about this plant and how many fallacies are out there about it. Which I'm very proud of. I really am. I'm very proud that they've done this. I'm glad that they're actually spearheading this. But here's another few points, okay, that are important before we hang up. The current prevalent use of ghost pipe for pain relief reported by respondents, a use that was recorded historically but is much more common now, provides impetus for further investigation into its potential applications for this purpose. Respondent concerns and reports of negative effects following ingestion highlight the need to study both efficacy and safety. Concerns over wild harvest sustainability are widespread, but appear to be at last partially exaggerated. The species is secure.
There you go. Wow.
Okay, and I've said this so many times.
Oh my gosh,
people are like,
dude.
it's at risk. Don't take it. It's crazy.
I was told years ago you had to be Native American to even touch it. And I was like, what is this person talking about?
No. What did they think you were dealing with? A peregrine falcon or something?
I don't know, dude, but I was like, man, people really don't want me fucking with this thing. So it just made me want to mess with it more.
Exactly. Okay. We found limited commercial trade among sellers and prescribers and widespread conservation see this? Widespread conservation sentiment and practices by foragers. These are people that are new foragers that don't understand botany. Okay. However, internet observations did show ghost pipe products being sold for amounts over $20, so it is possible that community members with commercial trade connections and interest self-excluded from this study due to proprietary or other concerns. Okay. How many times have I said that the way my methods are proprietary?
Yeah.
Yet I have open sourced with ghost pipe.
Yep.
Turkey tail and reishi. Those are the three I'm open sourcing about at present. Okay. So it takes some brave people like me to come forward, but a lot of those brave people, which is why I get the emails and the text messages, they all have licenses and certifications. They don't want to be. They're waiting for the chemical study to come out before they do anything. Okay. But me, I'm pretty cool with it. I can do it. All right. So, furthermore, although the species is secure in the U.S., there are possible edge of range conservation needs that are nevertheless important to consider. That goes with anything you forage. Okay. Because you need to understand that when you forage this, when you take from the root, and I've said this many times, you create a situation where all three of those plants, the tree, the mushroom, and the plant, they are going to thrive and grow like crazy the next year. Because when you do that, and you take the right ghost pipe out of that clutch and you harvest it in the right way, okay, and you tincture it correctly, but when you harvest it the right way, what happens is the tree's roots grow longer.
Yeah.
That means the mushrooms benefit, the trees benefit, and guess what? The next year in that same patch that you thought was just a little bit of ghost pipe, it is going to be thriving the next summer. Okay, you're going to have twice, if not quadruple, the amount of ghost pipes there because you're harvesting it correctly. That is ethical harvesting.
Yep.
If anybody, and that's how come it's a rule in our group that there will be no pick shaming. Those are the conservationists and the bad vendors and the other group of people that, I heard it on the internet and that's why I said this. You can't just bow down. I never talk about something unless I educate myself first.
Yeah, the ghost pipe misinformation was freaking rampant last year, and honestly, I mean, I've talked about this a million times, but dude, it was exhausting. Like I was, part of a group where we went to like 10,000 people and like constantly copy and paste. I had like a copy and paste answer sheet to like 10 questions because if I didn't get to that person first and say, hey, here's your answer, dude, they have like 5 different mixed answers, and then here I am arguing with them, and then it caused a whole mess. So yeah, like
listen, David just asked about tinnitus. Listen, ghost pipe helps tinnitus.
It should.
It does, because it's one of those, and I've got clients that use it for tinnitus and say they greatly diminish their tinnitus. Why? They are not, once you dose a ghost pipe and you find your correct dosing for you as an individual, you are no longer hyper-focused on the tinnitus. Not at all. It's still going on, but you don't care. That's how come it greatly reduces it. It also...
It helps a little bit. Helps me a little bit.
It helps. Well, you got to dose up a little bit more. Try dosing up a little bit more, and it'll help because But you're still young.
I use a sound machine, dude. I blew my eardrums out playing music.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Dude, it's bad.
I forget that you're kind of a famous musician.
No, I'm not. Far from it.
Yeah, you kind of are, David. You've opened up for some. Addie, you've opened up for some great people. But,
yeah.
It also reduces blood pressure. And the way it reduces blood pressure, it happens almost instantly. Think about why your blood pressure is raised. It's raised because you're hyped up, you're full of anxiety, you're worried, and that's your normal. You take ghost pipe, and all of a sudden, your blood pressure, right down back to normal again.
Yeah.
And that's why turkey tail and reishi work so good in conjunction with it, because the reishi and the turkey tail also help with the ghost pipe to maintain a healthy blood pressure. So you use less ghost pipe as long as you daily dose with the turkey tail and the reishi. And, one thing that I thought was always a stumbling block is that, can you use this for insomnia and relaxation? Absolutely.
Yep.
Does it make you feel high? Is that what makes you relax? No. You just are no longer running.
It grounds you, honestly. That's what it does.
It grounds you.
Yep.
And if you're in bed and you say to yourself, because I'm a type of person that I fall asleep with the TV on, and we've talked about this before. It's like being a kid again when your parents put you to sleep and, you didn't have TV. You just closed your eyes and all of a sudden I get 6 hours or more uninterrupted sleep. I wake up the next day bouncing, not groggy. I wasn't groggy or tired when I went to sleep. I just closed my eyes, and that's what I wanted to do. And before I knew it, I was asleep within 2 minutes.
And it gives you deep sleep, too. You get that REM sleep.
Yes. And
I noticed that.
I tell you, and that heals the brain, because you need to have REM sleep in order for your subconscious to work out your conscious. And you need to reach that. When you're in pain and you got musculoskeletal, fibromyalgia, arthritis, whatever, injuries, you're tossing and turning all night long. Not with ghost pipe.
Dude, I'm going down the ghost pipe rabbit hole right now. I'm reading this article that was written in 1960. Look what he says. Roots from monotropa that penetrated into the roots of both beech and spruce trees. All right, beech trees. There you go, right there, 1960. And that was written in 1873. So in 1873, Drude spoke of monotropa alongside of beech and spruce, and they talk about it being a parasitic plant.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Do you see? Yeah, but back then they thought it was partially parasitic. Just before technology and mycelium came in and everything else, and we actually had the technology to observe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And now, and remember this: where there's beech trees, there's also going to be conifer trees.
Yep.
The main takeaway is this: it has to be a boreal forest. You have to have old growth. It has old growth. And it's got healthy humus soil. Ghost pipe is only going to grow in old growth forests. Okay, that's in boreal forests. You're going to find them because the soil is a really good humus soil, and that's what it needs to be able to reach and parasitize that symbiotic relationship between the mycelial and the tree roots.
Yeah, there's some crazy references in here. They use a reference from this hemp extraction article. I'm wondering what information they got from here. It's pretty interesting.
Well, terpenes.
I guess so.
Because they're starting to think, they touched upon in the study about terpenes and flavonoids and stuff like that.
There you go. It's definitely got a flavor.
It does have it. Yeah, it definitely does.
That's pretty cool. All right, Jen, everybody, I'm heading out. Let's sit down and do this again. This was cool. About an hour and a half. Wow.
Yeah. Listen, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
For watching, everybody that came in to watch. Thank you for everybody who's going to be viewing this live afterwards. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Penn State.
Yeah, thank you, Penn State. Keep your hands to yourself. Eat your mushrooms. And I want nothing but peace and happiness for everybody out there.
Take care.
We appreciate you.
All right, it's ending now.
Why did David put placards waiting?
I don't know.
Maybe he wants me to send him some cards.
Not sure. Yeah, that fucking article that's a mic dropper there. All right.